Moving next
I think I got the mouth working.
to the Starfield Direct. Many fans, those looking forward to the game, this was the moment to define if Starfield was going to live up to the initial expectation, I will say, of the hype people have been feeling for the game. What is Starfield? It is an open world, truly open world. Let me accentuate that. Role playing game, RPG, that delivers a single player experience. It's being developed by Bethesda Game Studios and will be published by Bethesda Software. It releases officially September 6th. However, there are some editions, the premium edition, the collector's edition, and the premium upgrade that allow for you to play it 5 days prior to release date. I will distinguish that those that can play this day one with Game Pass do not get that 5-day prior pass on September 1st, 5 days prior to play the game. So do note that and take that into account on whether you want to purchase one of the other versions. This releases on PC and Xbox Series X and S. And this is interesting. A topic about the graphics engine is sometimes part of discussion with Bethesda titles. The Starfield engine is confirmed to be the Creation Engine 2. And at the beginning, near the beginning of the Starfield Direct, it was noted that this game has better dynamic lighting, for example. So I credit that to my impression, at least, credit that to Creation Engine 2 in being able to deliver a stunning experience, say, compared to what the experience may have been in the former games like Fallout 4. There was so much content. There's so much to unpack. I think what the best approach is to really just dive into little parts of this and get some feedback here from the both of you on what you think and what you are seeing, and if you are truly excited for an open world space exploration game. So as far as the quest, you go across the cosmos. And when I say cosmos, it is said that there are going to be 1,000 planets and 100 systems to explore. That's a large number. Derek, how do you feel about visiting 1,000 planets?
Who, me?
Yeah, how do you feel about
Oh,
exploring?
I don't. That is a lot of planets.
That's a lot of planets. You talked about a game that you could get lost in. I think I found you that game,
yeah.
Derek.
Well, honestly, I came across a TikTok earlier about this game, and
Okay.
I got excited then because this is my type of game. I'm a huge Bethesda fan, a long time. I played all the Elder Scrolls for since Morrowind, and dude, I would love to play this game. But what exactly? I mean, what is your objective?
The objective is to go on your own quest. But yeah, Brian, let me get your thoughts here on how you feel about 1,000 planets over 100 systems to explore.
So, I mean, it's not the first game to do that. I mean, you got games that are, it's not the first space game, and these guys are trying to compete by, creating a game that's going to be, something like Elite Dangerous / No Man's Sky / stuff like that. That's going to be prettier than those games. With obviously less realism than a game like, Elite Dangerous, but there's games out there that this is drawing heavily from, and one of them is a unfinished game that's called Star Citizen. And Star Citizen is a fantastic game, even though it's still in alpha. they've started making a lot of progress on it post quarantine. So, I'm really excited to see where that game's going. They're starting to talk about releasing capital ships by the end of the year, which would be badass because that means I get mine. But yeah, I mean, this actually does seem like it derives a lot of even ship design. Like I'm seeing a lot of the same types of.
Let me touch on there for ship customization. And you and I, we've jumped into Star Citizen, and you introduced me to Star Citizen as well. And I completely agree with your thoughts. And in fact, I have even confused the names because they are so similar. So regarding ships, you have a wide range of customizations where you can build onto the ship. And I mean, you can make this thing look like a transformer or something from the Power Rangers. It's truly phenomenal based on the screen captures. You can fully disassemble ships in various places in the game. You can buy different modules from ship manufacturers. You can choose crew members. You can completely customize the look and feel, and you can unlock mods and gear at crafting and research stations within the ships. You can run research projects to expand crafting options. In Star Citizen, those ships, there were some beautiful ships in that, Brian.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, I
there's
think a
some
hot
gorgeous
tub
ships in Star
was in
Citizen.
one. I think the one you had a hot tub. Pretty sure it did.
Oh, I have a couple of them. I got
You
a
have a
hot
couple
tub.
of hot
Yeah,
tubs. I mean, that's
yeah,
high
yeah.
living right there.
You gotta have hot tubs.
I don't have a hot
Um,
tub, Brian. That's my problem. I hope that Starfield gives me a hot tub option, or
but
I'm just going to
see,
have to
here's the
play
thing
Star
though, is
Citizen.
I'm looking at these maps and I'm looking at a lot of the controls and I'm looking at some of these ships, and if they don't get sued by CIG, I'm going to be very disappointed because this is it's very derivative. And I understand Star Citizen's not a complete game, but when you rip off very specific elements from the game, as far as ship design and things like that, there's only so many excuses you can make to say, a space game, futuristic is all going to look the same. It's not. It doesn't. Like, okay, so there's no little robots like that in Star Citizen, but there's a lot of ships and stuff like that that I'm just like, even the terminals, like the terminals are very similar. They're portrait instead of landscape. That's the difference. Like, uh, I don't know. I feel like CIG is probably going to sue the crap out of Bethesda after seeing a lot of this. If they're not already getting some kind of royalties for some of the intellectual property that they're obviously stealing.
And we don't have those details here on the channel to confirm or disconfirm that, but that is definitely noted on the visuals here. And let's talk about character creation. It is the most flexible. It's outfitted with sliders to offer vast options, and it Bethesda has not failed with character creation. There is, I would say, even more in depth Bethesda goes for character creation in this. I mean, so far as to have background and option traits where provider starter skills, and that is not necessarily a new concept, but I found the depth to be novel in going into this background and option traits. There's one example, the Cyber Runner, and that is the one I actually plan to have for mine. Has pistol certification, security, and persuasion, and each skill offers a different buff or a ability, and that buff or ability will demonstrate itself in various situations. So they showed, for example, someone with a chef background, and that being helpful when meeting an NPC in the game. So there's that dynamicism with how your story, customized story, can develop as well. Let's see. The outpost. This is where I started to think of the camps. You remember, Brian, we dived into some hours of Fallout 76 and camp building. That was big. So not only can you customize the ships, but you can build homes away from home. So this is a whole other level. I was overwhelmed with just building a camp. I rebuilt that camp, I think 3 or 4 times. Maybe for 1 or 2 of those builds, you helped me with that, get some electricity going so I could graduate into the modern era, so to speak. But yeah, you could build outposts. I don't know if that's more than one on a planet or just one per planet. Wasn't said, but there's a sim element here in that, if I may say, where you can build throughout the cosmos for that. Derek, how do you feel about ship customizations, building your ship, choosing your crew, home away from home with the outposts? Do you plan
That's
to
pretty
get building?
cool. Yeah, I love the whole customization aspect of games for sure. That's why I love RPGs so much. But yeah, it seems like a cool game.
And as far as the plot, this extends as far as where the cosmos is, where this game takes place. It's 50 light years from our solar system. So that's just in the neighborhood, right? And it takes place in 2330. And the backstory, at least the glimpse that I got, is 20 years after 2 factions engaged in the Bloody Colony War for territorial control. And those 2 factions were the United Colonies and the Free Star Collective. So I think one distinction, and Brian, again, I haven't played Star Citizen as much as you have, but I did not get a feeling of backstory. So don't let me dictate that, but that I at least didn't get that as much as what Bethesda
There is
is trying to promise.
there's so much lore in Star Citizen.
Okay.
There's more lore than there is game.
Okay.
Like,
Well, see, I'm glad I got your opinion here, and I was thinking maybe it's because I just haven't delved in enough to that. But I'm interested in the comparison here. So a backstory to your character, to where you are in Star Citizen, how the quantity of
well,
that.
so that's the thing. So there's not really anything about you, because so the whole premise of the game is it's supposed to be um ah, we could do a whole
Yeah, we can.
special segment on Star Citizen at some point.
I'm gonna
But
make a
so
note. We're going to do that.
there was an article that the creator wrote that was called Death of a Spaceman, and it's his vision for what he sees this game to be. And you know, you're writing your own legacy, and you're literally, as your character progresses in the game, eventually, you write a will, and you've started to create a family within the game that are alternate characters. So when your character dies, it gets passed down. All of your stuff, all of your ships, all your property gets passed down to the next person, and they assume your legacy. Like, that is what that game is eventually going to go to. um so it's they don't have to really give you a backstory. They just have to give the universe a backstory, and you're just plugging in.
Okay.
Like, you're Joe Schmo. You're writing your own story. It's not like how Destiny was originally supposed to go, where it's like, create your own story, or the games like Fable, where, yeah, you create your own story by making choices and stuff like that. But this will be, Star Citizen, even now in the newest updates, they've got, it records the quests and jobs that you do, and how well that you do them, and you build reputation with these different types of professions, whether it be trading, whether it be cargo running, mining, scrapping. Piracy is about to become a game loop, so you can have a criminal record. It's cool. you know
So how do you feel about plugging in, Derek?
Uh,
Star Citizen,
oh,
Starfield, or are you just going to pick up both?
uh, I don't know.
Tough decision. It's a good discussion. But yes,
Yeah.
I want to do that. Another
Well, so
segment.
Star Citizen's really easy to get into. Everybody's like, oh, people are spending thousands of dollars on ships and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, there are people that are doing that.
What?
However,
Who spends money on
we
gaming?
won't go into that. We won't go into that. That's a
I,
sensitive
I've
subject. We won't go into that.
I've never heard of that. Spend money on gaming?
Um,
Get out of here.
so so here's the interesting part. They make it very easy to get in and start playing with a $45 package. At that point, if you know somebody who plays the game and they're part of an org, basically the same thing as a guild or a clan in other games. If you find an org, and especially a large org that has a bunch of helpful people that are almost always online, you'll never have issues running into, oh, I want to play Star Citizen, nobody's online to play with. And I happen to know a couple of those orgs. If you're wanting to join or what have test it out. It's like I said, it's $45. You can catch it a couple times a year for a free fly event, where basically all you got to do is download the game. But it is a very demanding game. That's where I think this game is kind of it's set to give a really good space game experience on something that's not a $4,000 or $5,000 rig. You want to hit 40, 50, 60 frames per second on Star Citizen because it's not optimized for anything. You got to have like a really good rig. This is going to be a really accessible space game to a lot of people.
Well, you see what's happening here, Derek. Brian is going to take all of the fans he can for Starfield, convert them to Star Citizen fans. And I'm going to stay on the hype train for Starfield, but have sincere respect for Star Citizen.
So is Starfield supposed to be multiplayer?
Nope. Single player.
Oh, that killed it completely for me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Completely. So that's the draw to games like Star Citizen or games like No Man's Sky. They're multiplayer experiences. So, Star Citizen, you spend the $45. Oops.
Siri is not a host on the show. Yeah. She's not a guest.
But
she's not a host. She can't.
$5 and you find somebody else that has bigger ships. You want to learn how to do mining or what have you. A lot of people will take you along mining and have you mine one of their lasers, and they'll split the profits with you. So it's like, oh, hey, we're gonna make 900,000 credits on mining. You can have a third of that because you're mining one of the lasers. So, you can make the money and then you can buy the ships with in-game currency. You don't have to use your own personal money in the Robert Space Industries store. But yeah, there's plenty of different ways to get into that. But if you want a multiplayer experience, that's the way to go, hands down.
Yeah, it just depends. If you're looking,
there's guides on how to optimize it. But if you want a single player experience, this is fine. It's relaxing. It's a single player game. It lost me in single player though.
Okay. Well, let us know in the comments.
Had a co-op where you could create a co-op lobby for like 3 or 4 people, that would be better. But to have it be completely single player, nope, not for me.
Well, let us know in the comments whether you were looking for that in this next Bethesda title, or if you were satisfied with a single player story and you truly want to get lost in space on your lonesome. Well, you have other NPCs, but you can't call a friend to help out. You're just left with the NPCs. Well, that is going to be our update for Starfield and a look into Star Citizen and to what extent you should consider diving into that or both, like Derek is going to do. Derek's going to dive into both.
Probably not.
All right. That is our update.